Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to MLK Manifesting the Dream. It is produced by We the World, and it features over 20 programs and events to inspire, inform, and involve people in carrying forward the work and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. My name is Rick Ulfik, and I'm the founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. To take action with We the World and to make a contribution, please go to we.net. Thank you. Now, at the end of this year's MLK 40 Days of Peace, I want to especially say thank you, Birgit Benali and Jana Larson, so much for all your hard work organizing all these inspiring and powerful programs. And we are all deeply grateful for the generous support of John Raymer, Peter Hayes, and the Compassion Games in partnership with AmeriCorps. Their support has made this year's MLK 40 Days of Peace possible. Now we are excited to hear from Deborah Moldow and Diane Williams. Reverend Deborah Moldow is an ordained interfaith minister, the founder of the Garden of Light, and director of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, an initiative of the Source of Synergy Foundation that brings together visionaries committed to the acceleration of conscious evolution. And Diane Marie Williams is the founder and president of the Source of Synergy Foundation and was the co-initiator with Deepak Chopra of one of its main projects, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, that aims to inspire, support, and serve conscious evolution. And I would like to add that Diane Williams was an original board member of We the World when we launched in 1998. Welcome to the broadcast, Deborah Moldow and Diane Williams.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So many are concerned about the excessive levels of political polarization and intolerance that we see in the USA and elsewhere. This disunity is affecting humanity's ability to properly address our greatest challenges, like the climate crisis, the mass extinction of species, poverty, and war. Deborah, let's start with you. Can you talk about these challenges and the work you are doing along with partners like We the World, that is helping to expand we consciousness and ultimately to build Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of beloved community?
Thank you, Rick. And thank you for reminding us of how we all met. I remember meeting you in Diane's office when we were all engaged in the community of non-governmental organizations at the United Nations. And you had this idea, We the World, and we were like, this one guy is calling himself We the World, and look what you've built over the years and how much you've done to accelerate we consciousness. So it's
Thank
wonderful
you.
to be with you again.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by just saying a few words about the vision of a beloved community that Martin Luther King Jr. put forth, because I think this is so important, and it's not discussed often enough. You know, we talk about the path of nonviolence, which is what's most associated with Dr. King, and of course, that is hugely important. And we cannot achieve a beloved community without a commitment to nonviolence. But nonviolence is a means to an end. And we rarely actually get to talk about the vision of what could be at the end of that path if we were to actually follow it, which I have to say, it's kind of discouraging how few people right now seem to be on the path of nonviolence, particularly in our leaders of our world today. It's just heartbreaking to see the violence all over the planet. And I don't even just mean the wars that are breaking our hearts, that we know about, but we have not come close to achieving the beloved community of planet Earth. And that, of course, would not only include humans, but all of the beautiful life around us. But we're not there. And it was so important for Dr. King to put forth a vision of what it would look like. We in the evolutionary leaders circle, and we're very proud to have you among us, dear Rick. We are all working toward the transformation of human consciousness. We call it conscious evolution. This is this term that was popularized by Barbara Marx Hubbard, one of our late evolutionary leaders who is still guiding us in a big way. So, okay, conscious evolution through nonviolence. All of these are the pathways to something. But when people ask us, what is it we're working toward? It's harder for us to describe that. Now, when you and Diane and I all met at the United Nations, a term was coming up there, which is very similar to the beloved community in a more secular way, and that is a culture of peace. And just like the beloved community vision, that's a vision of a world not only built on nonviolence, but also what that would do to our culture and how every aspect of our lives could change if we truly felt that deep sense of community, of the human family that we are, about all of the people on the planet. And we could truly get past our impulse to violence, our impulse to othering, the racism that is endemic to so many conflicts on this planet. And those conflicts, I don't even mean armed conflicts, but in communities, we are just not there yet. And we need to do everything we can to build that we consciousness. This is the most important thing. As you mentioned, Rick, we have enormous challenges facing us in the future. And not only does that include the climate crisis, but and the terrible pollution of our air and our water and our soil that gives us our food supply. I mean, this is just, this cannot hold. But even if you look at all of our man-made institutions, they are all in need of radical revisioning. And we can't do that from a point of view of what's going to benefit me. it has to be done in we consciousness. It has to be done, as our Native American elders say, with thought to 7 generations ahead. At least, if humanity wants to stay here on planet Earth, we have to reimagine how we're going to do that. And the concept of beloved community is that shining vision of what we could be. And, you know, one of the things I like about the term beloved community is that we've all seen it in our lives. So you may have seen it in a scout troop or a classroom with a really good teacher. You know, I had a friend who was principal of an elementary school in a terrible area in the Bronx, very, deprived area. And he knew every kid. He greeted everybody. They all adored him because when they walked into that school, they were honored as being someone. Oh, Mr. Fine said hello to me today, you know? I mean, it's not a foreign concept to us. And many people feel that way about maybe the community, maybe it's their family, or maybe it's where they live, or maybe it's their place of worship, where they feel that sense of supporting everybody, that there's no one who doesn't belong. Imagine if we could feel that way about our Earth community. That it's a vision. And when Dr. King spoke of his dream, and he articulated some of those aspects of what that beloved community would be like, he expressed the hope, first of all, of every religion. Every faith tradition talks about love and unity and the basic human goodness. And I don't hear any of our leaders in the world today speaking that way. Maybe we can't wait for the leaders anymore. Maybe it's up to us to build that beloved community, to feel that we consciousness in our own hearts, and to recognize where we don't have it, you know, so that we can continually polish ourselves. And for me, that's been the journey, working with the Source of Synergy Foundation. And when Diane started the foundation, one of the main activities was bringing people together in retreat, which I didn't quite get until we started doing it. And when we would come together in retreat, we would come in as our different people and with the evolutionary leaders. And in the beginning, a large percentage of them were well-known authors. And it wasn't a simple thing to come together at that level of mutual respect and caring and authenticity of communication. But we learned as we built this community of evolutionary leaders what it means to be in community. And now we're at a point where we have more than 250 evolutionary leaders. And I know some of them, like you, well for a long time, and there's others that I don't know that well. I love them all. And I get excited when I do the newsletter, The Edge, every month, because I get to showcase all the wonderful things that they're doing in the world. And we had a retreat recently here in Mexico. And we came together in a beautiful sacred area in the mountains. And this is what I noticed the most when we gathered in circle and we did ceremony. I noticed how each person was there supporting each other person. There were no boundaries. There were no ego, discomforts or certainly no conflicts. So can we get there as a global community? Can we realize Dr. King's dream? Can we realize the dream of the United Nations? to truly be united nations and not nations that sit to get down together to discuss their differences. And yes, there will always be differences. But as Dr. King put forth, we need to learn. We need to learn how to sit down together and address our differences so that we come out with a win for everyone involved, because we care about one another. So our most recent work with the evolutionary leaders has been to start an evolutionary partners network, which is an attempt to see how do you work together with organizations. So the Evolutionary Leaders Circle is about individuals. The Partners Network is organizations that were founded or are headed by members of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, so that we didn't have to think too much about who qualified, right? This is a pilot project of the Source of Synergy Foundation. So it's an experiment. What if organizations were to come together who have missions that are aligned at the heart? How can we empower one another? How can we work together? How can we strengthen our goals of creating this kind of beloved community? And in addition to that, we have been working more and more with other organizations. And I'm sure that Diane will tell you more about how the Source of Synergy Foundation has been engaging with other like-minded organizations, again, to put forward this idea of how we can be in a new time. We're in a new year now. We just entered the year of the dragon. And how can we ride that fire breath of the dragon into a radically new time that is about a culture of peace, where we can be the beloved community that we are meant to be, living together in caring, in love, and in peace. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Deborah. Thank you so much. I want to bring in Diane. Oh, here we go. Wait, I gotta get this correct here. Sorry. Okay. So Diane, would you like to comment on anything Deborah said, and how is the Source of Synergy Foundation helping people and organizations to connect and collaborate to address humanity's problems while helping society to move toward Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of beloved community?
Well, thank you, Rick, Birgit, Jana, and everybody that participated in inviting me to be part of this special program. It's so great to be together. And thank you, Deborah, for those beautiful, really inspiring words. And wow, Rick, you, Deborah, and I go back many years. When you said 1998, I was like, wow. And that was through our New York City and United Nations beloved community. So what a gift that is. So as you mentioned previously, some of our greatest challenges we're facing today are political polarization, intolerance, climate disruption, the mass extinction of species, poverty, and war. And we can look at all of the disturbances of our planet has right now and see the effects of the human collective not operating as one. And as Deborah said, we are not being what we could be. So I wanted to say a little bit about the Source of Synergy Foundation's vision. So in our vision statement, we state that our foundation recognizes that our essence is source, a single universal field out of which everything emerges, where we are united as one. And from this place, we create opportunities for synergy. And so synergy is typically defined as the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. And to synergize efforts means to collaborate together to be more effective and to hopefully deliver more value than any one group would have through individual efforts. And all of our foundation's efforts, like that of We the World, is to strive to create this strength through bringing together individuals, organizations, networks, and movements to be a greater force for transformation. So in Source of Synergy's case, through, as Deborah stated, retreats and our evolutionary leaders circle, which brings together individuals, our evolutionary partners network, which brings together organizations, networks, and movements, our call to conscious evolution that everyone can join by going to evolutionaryleaders.net, or through roundtables, salons, and synergy circles that support people in collaborating with each other on issues closest to their heart. And each is about building this beloved community. And we do this through coming together and co-creating with those that feel their mission is also about building the beloved community, like what we just did with the recent Sacred Mission Symposium, which was an effort of many groups coming together to support the whole in living their individual and our collective sacred mission as humanity. And that was inspired by Dr. Irving Laszlo. And we also create the beloved community with other life forces. We have a synergy circle, or we have one on contact and conscious evolution to explore contact and synergy with other intelligences in our galactic family, including contact with those in non-physical fields of consciousness. And we also had a synergy circle at Finhorn Foundation a few years ago called Co-Creating with the Intelligence of Nature. So synergy, not just with humans, but nature and others in our cosmic family. And the Source of Synergy Foundation believes that synergy is a state of highly creative, supercharged potential, which can be activated and applied by anyone, anywhere. So when you come together in synergy with a few friends and take an action together, like standing up against injustice or raising funds to help a war-torn country, you are an expression and an embodiment of the beloved community in action. And when you source synergy for the common good, you are upgrading humanity's capacity to evolve and solve because you have activated this supercharged potential that almost always leads to positive ripples in the field. So organizations like We the World, the Source of Synergy Foundation, and countless other organizations out there make all of their efforts and activities with the same end goal, like Deborah was saying, in mind, to create a global, loving, and caring community. And we know that the world can be a lonely place if you don't feel like you're a member of a community that cares about your well-being and the well-being of the whole. But the good news is everyone can join or create a community. It could be in person or online. It's just a matter of finding the people that have similar goals as you, or a similar hobby or interest, and beginning or joining a club, a class, a group, an organization, or a movement that you feel aligned with. So I want to just give a shout out to a philosopher and theologian, Josiah Royce, who was actually the first one to coin the phrase, the beloved community, that was popularized by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And in 1913, Royce wrote, "My life means nothing either practically unless I am a member of a community." He observed that besides the actual community we experience in our daily lives, there's also an ideal beloved community made up of all those who are dedicated to the cause of loyalty, truth, and reality itself. And he felt that this is the ultimate goal for humanity. And we know that Dr. King had the same vision. He described the beloved community not as a lofty utopian goal, but an achievable global goal he believed could be attained by humanity if we were committed to and trained in the philosophy and methods of nonviolence. And he believed that nonviolence is a love-centered way of thinking, acting, speaking, and engaging that leads to personal, cultural, and societal transformation. And I know, Rick, you studied Marshall Rosenberg's work on nonviolent communication, which supports us in speaking peacefully. And I know that really had a positive impact on your life. And Dr. King advocated for a dramatic societal transformation, challenging society to take a deep look at itself and have the courage and conviction to change the conditions that keep us from living in the beloved community. And he believed that caring, compassion, love, reconciliation, and trust should be the birthright of every being. And these values and principles should guide choices as well as policies and laws. And he believed that this love would lead to an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood that would eliminate global concerns such as war, poverty, racism, hunger, homelessness, and many other global concerns, because of international standards of human decency would not allow it. So the core value of the quest for Dr. King's beloved community was agape, love which he described as understanding, redeeming goodwill for all, and overflowing love which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless, and creative. He said the love of God operating in the human heart. Agape begins by loving others for their sakes and makes no distinction between a friend and an enemy. It is directed towards both. Agape is love speaking to preserve and create community. So Dr. King deeply admired Mahatma Gandhi for befriending his adversaries and breaking the cycle of revenge and retaliation so that lasting peace, reconciliation, goodwill, and friendship could emerge. And Deborah and I were recently in Dharamsala with the Dalai Lama and our friend Olivia Hansen, and also another friend, Richard Darlow, that I know you know, Rick, as well. And the Dalai Lama has also chosen this path. He once said, "I defeat my enemies when I make them my friends through respect and respectful dialogue. Compassion should be extended to them. They can be your best teacher." He developed a personal friendship with many senior Chinese leaders, including Chairman Mao himself, who, as we know, was the founding father of the People's Republic of China. So in 1956, Dr. King spoke of the beloved community as an end goal. He said, "It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opponents into friends. It is this type of understanding and goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of men." So I want to just end my remarks by saying that Dr. King embodied we consciousness. His end goal was for everyone to feel the communal spirit of the phrase, "we the world," symbolizing that we can all live in the promised land he spoke about, where everyone can rest in knowing that they will be loved and cared for, that no one will be forgotten or left behind, that everyone will have security, equality, safety, and justice. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful, Diane. That was just gorgeous. And I want to open it up kind of for a little roundtable discussion. So I'm going to bring in Deborah and Birgit. Can you put your video on as well? So Birgit has been doing tech for us today, and she and Jana Larson have been organizing literally dozens of programs for MLK, manifesting the dream. So welcome to this broadcast, Birgit.
Thank you so much.
Ben Ali.
Thank
So with
you.
us all together, any responses to anything that anybody had to say?
First of all, thank you. Can I start? Start and saying thank you so much to all of you, especially Deborah and Diane. And I think both of your, I don't know how to, I'm sorry, I'm lacking now my English. I wasn't, both of your presentations were really impressive. And I think it's very interesting that both of you, I think you both mentioned the main 2 points. It's non-violence and coming together, and that we should embrace everyone. And that was really impressive to listen to both of you. And I think nowadays we just forget this. We live in extremes, and we live in opposite, sides and opinions, and it feels like we are drifting further and further apart. And it's that we almost feel like no matter from which spectrum someone comes, that it's very hard to find the common ground. And I think, again, non-violence, I think, is the most important, and finding common grounds is that what helps us probably to get to this non-violence. So thank you both for these beautiful, beautiful presentations. So it was really touched my heart, I must say.
And mine as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Did either of you want to respond to anything? And I also wanted to say, can we have a call to action of some sort? What are you calling for? How would you like people to take action to build this beloved community that we're talking and striving toward?
Well, Birgit just said something really important about embracing everyone and finding the common ground. And I know Deborah mentioned to be careful of not othering the other person, because I think this is really important, because I think that's why sometimes we see so much polarization in the world, because we're not really considering those that maybe have a different opinion as we do. As stakeholder, right, in this whole experience. Because if we're talking about we want to create this beloved community, that means everybody. So my call to action would be to really focus on considering the perspective of all and the experience of all, and kind of suspend maybe our beliefs just a little bit to open up and really hear those with a different opinion, whether it's politics or, anything. I think, sometimes we listen to certain politicians on the news and we're like, oh my goodness, but what can we take from that person's heart, right? Where are they coming from? Is it coming from a deep place of caring? Is it coming from another place? But so my call would be just being more open to people that maybe have a different perspective or opinion as we do, and take it a step further and maybe invite them to lunch and to really share and really hear their point of view and see where you can come to middle ground.
I think that's very important, Diane. Thank you. The idea of focusing on how we listen to one another, not just listening, but how we listen. Are we able to see the soul that is expressing its human opinion? Are we able to see past the fruits of the ego mind to what is really in a person's heart, or what experience they've had that has closed their heart? So I think the path forward is twofold. The first is working on ourselves. So that would be an aspect of working on ourselves. Like, what would it take for me to be a stand for unconditional love of every person on this planet? I mean, it's a tall order, because there's people out there we don't like. How do we love them? This is key. Even Dr. King said, I'll fight to the end for an end to segregation. but I'm going to love the segregationist. Imagine being able to say that, how big a heart that takes to truly love our enemies as ourselves. Whew. So that's one goal, is the inner work. And then in terms of our communities, with the communities that we're a part of, how do we make them beloved communities? How do we notice in a community that we have, whether it's a circle of friends or any small level community, who's being left out? How do we befriend the other, as David Gershon says in his campaign for Peace on Earth 2030? And Diane says, invite them to lunch. How do we make an impact where we are in our community? And then the last part, I would say, is the linking up part. We have various ecological organizations here in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, where I live, and I want to see them all work together. I want to help see that happen, because the organic farm will not have a future without the people who are working on water scarcity. So we need to see ourselves as, it's not easy to see yourself as a global citizen because we have so many levels of identity, but we can start in our own communities and enlarge our sense of what can be done, what's possible. We know that we as human beings are only living a very limited percentage of our capacity. So let's step into our power to do good and empower others to do the same. And I want to encourage your listeners to come onto the website at evolutionaryleaders.net and sign on to the call to conscious evolution and tell us what you're doing in your community and in your life.
Sounds like a great idea. And like you said, I'm an evolutionary leader myself. So
you certainly are, Rick, and you have shown us the way in the extraordinary things that you have done with We the World. And I know Diane joins me in just thanking you for honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. May his legacy truly resurge in our world and be a healing balm for all of the terrible divisiveness that we're experiencing right now.
Exactly. And I wanted to thank you, Diane, for bringing up the writings and speech of MLK, and the person that you mentioned who created the idea and maybe the phrase of beloved community. Thank you. I learned something from that. And the idea of turning enemies into friends, like the Dalai Lama and others talk about. It seems like it's remote, right? Like it's impossible. If you think of people who are actually in conflict, it seems like it's remote. And I just want to bring up something that I read in a magazine called Tikkun magazine, which was published by Rabbi Michael Lerner, and who I worked with quite a bit in the 90s, and he kind of steered me into becoming an activist and not a full-time musician as I had been, but in this article in that magazine, it's about nonviolent communication, right? Which is this process of bringing people together who are probably in conflict, but they're willing to have a dialogue and sit at a table. So at least they have made that initial step, but they are totally in different political camps. So one of them is an Israeli settler, and the other is a Palestinian activist. They got together for like I think it was about 2 days, and there was a person, I don't know the person's name, but there was a person who it was skilled in nonviolent communication as a mediator in a sense. And it was a process of each of those two people revealing about what was going on for them inside themselves and in their lives. So their feelings and their needs that could express who they are. And they got to the point where each person could not only express their own feelings and needs in a concise and detailed way, but that person could also express the feelings and needs of the other person at that table. And when they reach that point, and they call it in nonviolent communication the point of connection, where they knew enough about each other and they could relate to each other in that level. Each one said, if all of your people knew as much as I know about me, we would have no problem sharing the land. And each of them said that to the other, and they were as far as that you can get.
Hard, yeah.
Yeah. So it's possible. I've talked with my friend Tom Bond, who started the New York Center for Nonviolent Communication, and we talk about peace technology in a sense, if to make this kind of thing happen, and we actually talk about is it possible to scale this up, and we've had some meetings with people at the UN. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's possible, and just knowing that it is possible to expand beloved community to become we the world is possible.
It was beautifully said, Rick, really. And all three of you was just amazing. I mean, you really, in this half an hour, 45 minutes, you mentioned the essence of what we have to do. And I would love that it would be as easy, as we talk about it. But I agree, in these times, it's so important that we all generate light. Sorry about this. That we generate light, and I think there's nothing more noble than to the quest for peace and love, and to hate and war seems so much, and the present day maybe always seems so much easier than spreading love and humanity and unity and peace. And I think that's what we have to keep working for, and that it's not about different sides, because we all know this. Everyone comes with a position, whatever their luggage is, whatever they have on their back, what they bring back from their childhood or from where they grew up or what culture they come from, that we have to really work towards, coexistence and taking care of each other and of our planet. I mean, and in these times of extremes, we keep forgetting this. And I agree with Deborah. So if the leaders are not doing that, it's upon us, to take this on and unite and grow and foster this sense of love, peace, unity, humanity, and all what we are thriving for. Thank you. So I really, really appreciate being here, and it was such a pleasure to listen to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you
And
all.
I'd like everybody
Yes.
to know, anybody who's listening, if you are part of the we team, you're doing your part. You don't have to be some fancy leader with hundreds of thousands of followers to make a difference in this world. You just need to do what Birgit just expressed, hold the light. And then together, we're building a field of light. And if we do that together, we may not look like the majority yet, but we're unstoppable.
That's so beautiful. So
Thank you.
I think this has been an amazing, impactful, inspiring discussion. And I want to thank you all for being part of MLK Manifesting the Dream, to learn about and take action with and contribute to We the World. Please go to we.net because it's all about we, right? And that's why we launched we.net. So let's go from being a me society, you know, this is the M, to a we society, the W. So
It's good to hear,
thank
Wolf.
you. There you go.
Double we.
So together we can create a world that works for all. Thank you.
Keep shining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.